Literal equations part 2. So this is really for my pre-AP students. So if you want to watch it to learn something new, you can, but this is an optional video for extra credit. Okay, so I'm solving for A, so I'm going to subtract B on both sides. That's going to cancel out. So I'm left with Z minus B equals M over A. Then I'm going to multiply both sides by A. So it'll cancel out over here. So I'm going to be left with A times Z minus B equals M. Then I divide both sides by Z minus B. And my final answer, because this cancels out, so that'll be A equals M over Z minus B. All right, my next one. So I'm going to subtract B from both sides. I have G minus B equals negative CA. Then I'm going to divide by negative C. And my final answer will be A equals G minus B over negative C. Okay? Now here's where it starts to get a little tricky, okay? Because I got variables on both sides, or the same variable on both sides, x and x. So let's subtract 2x from both sides. That's going to cancel out. I'm going to be left with 4 equals xg minus 2x. So here's the part where I say that I really haven't taught yet, because this is a skill that we will learn in the, I want to say when we do our polynomials unit. So I'm going to divide out an x here. And what this is going to look like is x times g minus 2. So I'm factoring out an x. Okay, which we haven't really talked about that yet, but we will talk about this probably around March or so. Okay, so I'm going to have equals 4. Then I'll divide both sides by g minus 2. And I'll have x equals 4 over g minus 2. Okay. Again, it's a little tricky. Like I said, if you can't do this, it is perfectly fine. This is not even in our curriculum. So, yeah. So, to get rid of this fraction, and let me erase. To get rid of this fraction, I'm going to multiply both sides by x. So, I'm going to be left with xg equals x minus c, because those cancel out. So I still want my x's on one side. So I'm going to move this one over here by subtracting. That cancels out. So I'm left with xg minus x equals c. So I'm still going to factor out x by dividing. So I'm going to have g minus 1 inside my parentheses equals c. Then I'm going to divide both sides by g minus 1. And that cancels out. And I have x equals c over g minus 1. All right. Make sure you have wrote that down. If you do have to pause the video, that is perfectly fine. So I'm solving for a, so I still want all my a's on one side. So I'm going to move ka to this other side by subtracting. So I'm going to have u equals ba minus k. They both have a, so I'm going to factor out a, which will leave me with times b minus k on the inside, and I still have my equals u. Then I'll divide both sides by b minus k, and that will give me u over b minus k equals a. All right. So here I'm solving for a. So this one should be a little bit easier. I just want to move these over here. Some of you may remember the rule when we switch sides, we switch signs. So I can easily just move this over here. This will become the opposite. Then this -2, or it will become -2. And then I'm still left with -2a on the right side. So if you need to really see that, all I did was subtract 3b on both sides, and then I subtracted 2a on both sides, and now it's over here, and it canceled out here. So from here, I'm going to divide both sides by -2, and my final answer will be a equals u minus 3b minus 2 divided by 2. Now, I could clean that up some. They may simplify it out. So I could make this u over 2 minus 3b over 2 minus 1. Okay. All right, my next one, they want me to solve for a. So they both have a, so I'm going to divide out an a on both sides. I'm going to be left with 4c minus 3b. And I still have my equals g. So this cancels out here. And I'm going to divide both sides by 4c minus 3b. That cancels out. I'm left with a by itself equals g over 4c minus 3b. All right. And last one we have here, we have solve for x, which this one is pretty straightforward. I'm just going to divide both sides by 4, and I get x equals -4r plus 2d over 4, which will simplify to x equals -r plus 1/2 d. Or they can actually put -r plus d over 2. Okay, so all three of these answers will suffice.